are going to make a little cornucopia. Let's begin. Because we're going to design with it, or actually you can set it in the middle. You can set it in the middle, and we are going to design, and when we're finished, you're actually going to have 2 separate pieces, and you're going to take it home in 2 separate pieces, and then you will place it, when you set it wherever it's going to stay, you're going to place it together, and then it will stand like that. So you're going to take your cup that we were using, and we are going to, in this, right underneath this second lip, so that little lip that's in the middle, we're going to take some anchor tape and wrap it all the way around the cup. Then I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut this cup. And it's easiest if you cut it at an angle all the way down until you get close to that anchor tape, and then we're going to cut just right above that anchor tape all the way around. And that anchor tape's just going to help add a little more stability to your cup. And it'll keep it from splitting down the side as easy. Okay, so there's our cup. Then you're going to take 1/6 of a block of foam. So a regular block of foam, you take it and you cut it in half, and that'll give you this little 1/6 of a block. So we're going to run this sideways today, so not tall but short. Take your foam, set it on the table, take the bottom of your cup, and we are going to imprint on the top of our foam the bottom of our cup. So we've got a big circle there, and we're going to take your floral knife and you're going to cut straight down where the bottom of that cup is. And you'll end up with this little block of foam, and you're going to stick it down in your cup, and that leaves a little bit of extra. That's so you can add some water around this piece of foam to make sure that it'll give you this, because this is not a very large piece of foam, and it'll make sure that your arrangement will last a little bit longer. So we're going to throw away these extra pieces of foam. And that's what I'm starting with. So this is actually going to be the container for my arrangement. And then my cornucopia is going to butt up next to it. And we're going to hide this cup with our greenery. So that's going to be our mechanics today. So we start with our greenery, and we're going to cut it apart just like we did with our sugar skull arrangement. So you're going to cut it into wings, or the little Y's, where you cut just above where it Y's right here. Cut right above there. And I want a few pieces that are big triangles, because that's going to help me hide my cup. And actually, I think I'm going to cut my cup down just a little bit lower, because I want to make sure that I have a little bit of foam sticking out the top. Because it's easier to design if you can see foam. There we go. So I'm going to finish cutting up my 3 pieces of leather leaf. Remember the dots on the back, those are spores. There's the dots on the back. Those are spores. That's not bugs, it's spores. That's how the plant reproduces. It actually is a sign that this plant was really healthy. And one last piece. And if your piece is broken like this, it's okay, you can still use it. Just cut it apart and use what's still usable, which this still has a lot of usable pieces. And if you have any danglies like this, go ahead and pull those off. We don't need that. It just is going to get in the way. Alright, there we go. So now we're going to start designing. So I'm going to take my anchor tape again, and I'm going to put 2 pieces of tape, just like we always do, right over the top of my foam to get my foam ready. we go. Two pieces are going to run parallel to each other. Then I'm going to set my cornucopia up next to it while I design, because that'll show me where I need to hide so you don't see inside the cornucopia. So I'm going to start greening. So I'm going to always start with my 3 pieces that are like a little triangle. And I'm going to put one that comes straight out the front. And then I'm going to put one on each side. Like so. So this is my front. And then I'm also going to put one, I'm going to turn this towards you now. I'm going to put one right here that's going to start to cover this opening. And I like to start with my little Y's right there. So they're just going to go straight up, pointing forwards, and that's going to cover my opening. And then I'm going to take the rest of my greenery and I'm just going to start placing it around to make sure that I try to cover my little red cup. And it still will show through probably a little bit, but it'll be okay. And then I'm going to put some pieces up here in the top. And just like we did on the sugar skull arrangement, you might have to cut these big wings down a little bit because otherwise they're going to really stick out of your arrangement. And we don't want it to overtake our mini carnations that we're using. So we're doing lots of little greenery pieces around. So here's an example. This Y is really large, so I'm going to cut these down. And like I told you with the sugar skull, you don't always want to do this. But our arrangement is just going to be so tiny with foam that if I don't cut them down, they're going to stick out way too far. Alright, that's a good start. I'm going to hold on to some of this greenery for a minute until I get to the end. And then you've got 3 stems of mini carnations. So they're spray carnations, which means they look just like a carnation, but they're smaller, and they have a whole bunch of flower heads that come off the same stem. So I'm going to cut these to maintain the length, just like I did before with the daisy mums on the sugar skull. So you're going to cut them as long as you can, and we can always cut them shorter, but we cannot make them longer. So go ahead and cut them all off the main stem. Even the buds. We like buds because buds are really cool. Not all flowers are always going to be in this big, bright, open form. Sometimes they're going to be in buds. So buds add a lot of texture to your arrangement. And texture is a good thing. We like texture. It makes it look a little more natural. Now don't try cutting with a knife until we have the knife class at school. And we will have that class pretty soon. But here we go. So if you have any carnations that haven't quite opened yet, but quite a bit of the top is showing, you can take it and open it up. So what you're going to do is grab a hold of the calyx and roll it back and forth. And then you can take your fingers and just kind of brush it gently open. And that'll open it up. Now you can't do that with every flower, but you can with carnations, so that's something that's really cool and unique to them. So now we're going to take these and we are going to cut them. I want them to be about four fingers long from the bottom of the calyx. And then I'm going to place them in my arrangement. Now just like we did on the sugar skull, I want to place them around so that they're not going to touch each other. So I'm going to start with one coming straight out the top. And then I'm going to put one straight out to the side on both sides. And I'm doing this with the color that I had more of because my other color is going to be more of a accent color. And then I'm going to have one that comes straight out the front. Like this. Open that up a little bit. And now I'm going to fill in with the rest of my flowers. So I've got a couple of these that are different colored. So I'm going to fill in my empty space with them. I do not want any of these to actually touch each other because you want to leave extra space in there. Because we still have filler flowers yet to add. Like that. And then I'm going to add my filler flowers. Now you have the choice today of either baby's breath or solidago. Now this, I just grabbed a little sprig of baby's breath out of the cooler so I can show you how to work this real quick. Our pieces that we're going to use are going to be relatively small, and a little bit of baby's breath goes a really long ways. And this is also in, if you're actually working in a flower shop, they're going to refer to this as gypsophilia. So you take a little sprig of baby's breath, and again, it's a filler flower, so we're going to place it and fill in our empty space. And it's just going to be tiny pieces, and I do not want this to stick out any further than the carnations that I have in here, because the mini carnations are going to be our most expensive flower in this arrangement. Now if you have the solidago, you're going to pull this apart in these little individual sprigs. So I just cut one off, pull the extra leaves off. I'm going to cut this a little bit shorter. And then you're going to put each of these little sprigs in individually. So it would go like here. Now you're only going to either have solidago or you will have baby's breath, but you won't have both. So whichever one you get, that's how you work it. And then when you finish, that will be our little finished cornucopia right there. And you can take some of this extra greenery that you have, and if you have some spots where your container is really showing, you can bring that greenery down in here and place it to where it's going to be down low, and it'll help hide that container. So here today